In the beginning, there was nothing but the vast emptiness, a formless, silent void wrapped in darkness. Yet within this profound stillness, the Spirit of God hovered gently over the waters, ready to breathe life into the nothingness. The creation story, as told in the book of Genesis, reveals a divine rhythm, a purposeful unfolding where light pierced the darkness and order was born from chaos. This ancient narrative is more than history. It is an invitation to understand the profound power of God's word, a force that spoke the universe into existence. From the creation of the heavens and the earth to the delicate shaping of mankind in God's own image, every detail is woven with meaning and intention. As we walk through these sacred chapters, we encounter not just the origins of the world, but the beginning of our purpose, identity, and relationship with the Creator. Light was the first gift, a symbol of hope, grace, and the triumph of truth over darkness. In this light, we find the reflection of God's own nature shining into our lives, calling us to live as bearers of His image, leaders of His creation, and keepers of His divine order. This story beckons us to remember who we are and why we are here, anchored in a love that has been present since time began. Before anything was, before time itself began, there was only God, eternal, sovereign, and full of purpose. The opening words of Genesis 1 and 2 unveil the foundation of all existence, describing not just a beginning of the physical universe, but the dawn of meaning, order, and relationship. The universe did not emerge from randomness or chance. It was spoken into being by the living word of God. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth is a declaration of intentional creation, where light, life, and beauty flowed forth from divine command. Imagine the world at that moment, a formless void, darkness enveloping the deep waters, silent and empty. Yet above these restless waters, the Spirit of God moved with gentle power, poised to bring order and life. This image speaks to us deeply. Even in the darkest and most chaotic seasons of our lives, the Spirit hovers, ready to renew, to bring light where there is shadow. This is the heart of the creation story, not merely cosmic history, but a message of hope and restoration. As the narrative unfolds, we see 6 days of divine work, each marked by purposeful separation, shaping, and filling. Day 1 brings light, breaking the silence with brilliance, a symbol not only of physical illumination, but of spiritual awakening. The light's separation from darkness reflects the very nature of God, a God who divides chaos from order, truth from falsehood, life from death. It invites us to live in the light, to embrace grace and understanding, and to reject the confusion that darkness brings. The creation of the sky and waters on the 2nd day, the forming of dry land and vegetation on the 3rd, and the placing of sun, moon, and stars on the 4th, reveal a meticulous ordering of the cosmos. Each day adds layers of complexity and beauty, showing a God who delights in diversity and detail. The birds filling the skies and the creatures populating the seas on day 5, followed by the animals on the land on day 6, illustrate a world teeming with life, all brought forth by the command of God. Among all creation, humanity stands unique. Made in the image of God, man and woman bear the mark of the Creator's likeness. This is not just about physical form, it is about purpose, responsibility, and relationship. Humans are called to steward the earth, to care for its creatures, and to reflect God's character in how they live and lead. This divine imprint elevates every person's worth and destiny, reminding us that each life carries sacred significance. The story invites us to reconsider what it means to be leaders and caretakers. Instead of dominion as domination, Genesis presents a vision of leadership grounded in service and stewardship. Just as a king cares for his people, humanity is entrusted with nurturing and protecting the created order. This teaching has practical echoes today as we grapple with environmental care, social justice, and ethical responsibility. True leadership, as modeled in Genesis, is rooted in humility, respect, and the desire to sustain life rather than exploit it. Throughout the 6 days, God's creative acts are followed by a refrain, and God saw that it was good. This simple declaration is profound, affirming the goodness woven into the fabric of creation. It challenges us to recognize the inherent value in the world around us and to live with gratitude and reverence for the life we have been given. Each day's work culminates in the 6th day, where the fullness of creation stands complete and very good. Then comes the 7th day, a sacred pause. God rests, not because of fatigue, but to set a pattern for humanity, to teach us the importance of rest and reflection. This Sabbath rest is a divine invitation to cease striving, to honor the work completed, and to find renewal in stillness. It underscores that our worth is not measured by ceaseless activity, but by our relationship with God and the rhythms He established. This lesson resonates deeply in a world that often values productivity over peace. Together, Genesis chapters 1 and 2 weave a narrative that is both cosmic and intimately personal. They remind us that from the vast expanse of space to the dust beneath our feet, everything is connected by God's intentional love. The creation story is not merely a tale of origins, it is a living truth that shapes how we see ourselves, our world, and our God. As we move deeper into the story, we will witness the unique way God shapes humanity, not just as rulers of the earth, but as beings formed with care, breathed into with life, and placed in a garden of beauty and purpose. This journey from the cosmic to the personal sets the stage for understanding our identity and the profound call to live as reflections of the divine, entrusted with a world waiting to be loved and cared for. God's intentional work culminates on the 7th day with a divine rest, a sacred pause that transcends mere physical fatigue. This rest is a profound declaration that creation was complete, perfect, and whole, inviting humanity into a rhythm of work and renewal. The Sabbath is more than a day off. It is a holy time set apart, a sanctuary and time that teaches us the value of reflection, gratitude, and spiritual restoration. In a world often driven by relentless hustle and endless demands, this divine example reminds us that true fulfillment comes not from constant labor, but from embracing rest as part of God's good design. The creation of humanity is the climax of God's creative masterpiece, carried out with deliberate care and intimate attention. In Genesis chapter 2, we find a deeper, more personal portrayal of the first man and woman, formed from the dust and breathed into with the very breath of life by God Himself. This act of divine breathing signifies more than biological life. It conveys soul, spirit, and relationship. God did not create humanity as an afterthought, but as the pinnacle of His handiwork, fashioned to live in communion with Him and with each other. Placed in the lush and abundant Garden of Eden, humanity was given not only provision, but purpose, to cultivate and keep the garden, to engage in meaningful work and stewardship. The creation of woman from man's rib symbolizes a profound unity and equality, showing that together they form one flesh, partners in the divine mandate. This foundation reveals the sacredness of human relationships and the importance of companionship, cooperation, and mutual support. This intimate narrative invites us to reflect on our own identity and calling. Being made in God's image means we carry inherent dignity and responsibility. We are leaders by design, called to reflect God's character through our care for the earth and each other. The creation story challenges us to embrace our roles not as conquerors, but as humble stewards who nurture and protect. It reminds us that life's greatest purpose lies in relationship, with God, with one another, and with all creation. Together, the seventh-day rest and the personal creation of humanity reveal a God who values both cosmic order and individual significance. This balance between the universal and the personal invites us to live with intention, to honor the rhythms of work and rest, and to cherish the divine image we bear. As we continue this journey through Genesis, we will explore how humanity's choices shape the unfolding story, and how God's love and leadership persist even amid human failure. The story of humanity's creation reaches a deeply personal moment in Genesis chapter 2, where we see God forming the first man from the dust of the ground, carefully shaping him with divine intention. But creation is not complete until God breathes into his nostrils the breath of life, an intimate act that transforms lifeless dust into a living soul. This breath is more than air. It is the very essence of life, connecting humanity directly to the Creator. Placing this man in the Garden of Eden, God offers a world of beauty and abundance, a sanctuary filled with trees pleasing to the eye and good for food, including the tree of life and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Here, we see the original harmony intended for creation, man living in relationship with God, nature, and purpose. Yet God recognizes that it is not good for man to be alone. To meet this need, he forms woman from the man's rib, creating a companion perfectly suited to be his partner. This act signifies unity, equality, and complementarity, the foundation of human relationship and community. The naming of the animals by Adam reflects not only dominion, but also a deep interaction with creation, highlighting the role of humanity as caretakers entrusted with the stewardship of all living things. However, this idyllic beginning carries with it a solemn command. From every tree in the garden, man may freely eat, but the tree of the knowledge of good and evil must not be touched. This instruction is both a gift and a test, an opportunity for obedience and trust. It reveals that human freedom comes with responsibility and the capacity for moral choice, laying the groundwork for the complex human experience of free will. The narrative takes a dramatic turn as temptation enters the garden. The serpent, more crafty than any other creature, challenges God's command, planting seeds of doubt and desire. Eve's choice to eat the forbidden fruit and Adam's willing participation shatter the harmony of Eden. Their eyes are open to good and evil, but with knowledge comes brokenness. The immediate consequences are profound: shame, fear, and alienation from God. This moment marks the fall, the introduction of sin into the world, and the loss of innocence. God's response is just yet merciful. The serpent is cursed to crawl on its belly. Enmity is placed between it and humanity, and both man and woman receive consequences for their disobedience. Pain in childbirth, toil in labor, and conflict in relationships. But even in judgment, God's mercy shines through. Adam and Eve are clothed to cover their shame, and a promise of redemption is given, a seed of hope that points to a future Savior who will overcome sin and restore creation. This profound story speaks to the human condition, the struggle between freedom and responsibility, the consequences of choices, and the enduring hope for restoration. It reminds us that while we all bear the image of God, we are also marked by brokenness and the need for grace. The creation and fall narrative invites us to reflect on our own lives, to recognize the weight of our choices, and to embrace the hope offered through God's unfailing love. As we continue to explore Genesis, we see that this is not an end, but the beginning of a divine plan to redeem and renew all things. Human history, as told through the pages of Genesis, unfolds as a profound story of leadership, rebellion, and divine purpose. From the flood that cleansed the earth through Noah's obedience to the prideful construction of the Tower of Babel, humanity's journey reveals a pattern. People striving to lead, to build, and to control, but often turning away from God's design. The flood was not just a reset of creation, it was a call to righteousness, a chance for humanity to start anew under God's guidance. Yet even after this fresh beginning, the desire for self-exaltation and independence from God re-emerged at Babel, where unified speech gave way to confusion and scattering. This event symbolizes the consequences of rejecting divine leadership and the importance of humility before God's sovereign plan. Despite human failures, God's leadership never ceases. He chooses a people, the Hebrews, to demonstrate his covenantal faithfulness and to model true leadership for the world. This divine oversight reveals that leadership is not about domination over others, but stewardship under God's authority. Each person is created to lead in their own sphere, reflecting the Creator's image through service, wisdom, and care. This calling transcends gender, status, and power, emphasizing that leadership rooted in God's principles is meant to build community and foster life. God's leadership is unique because it invites partnership rather than enforcing control. He initiates creation and redemption, but continuously welcomes humanity into his plans, valuing our freedom and cooperation. This divine invitation calls us to live intentionally, to lead with humility, and to embrace the responsibility that comes with being bearers of God's image. Our lives become reflections of divine order when we align with his will, serving one another and caring for creation. In a world rife with broken leadership and conflict, Genesis challenges us to reclaim our God-given roles as leaders who lead not for selfish gain, but for the flourishing of all. This understanding of divine and human leadership lays a foundation for how we view our purpose and impact today. As we continue this journey through Genesis, we see that the story of creation is also a story of redemption, a call to embrace God's leadership in every aspect of life, knowing that through him, restoration and hope are always possible. From the very beginning, the story of creation has invited us into a sacred journey, one that reveals not only where we come from, but who we truly are. It is a narrative woven with divine intention, love, and profound purpose, reminding us that life itself is a gift crafted by a creator who cares deeply for each detail of his masterpiece. As we reflect on the unfolding of the heavens and the earth, the forming of light from darkness, and the unique creation of humanity in God's image, we begin to see a pattern of hope and calling that transcends time. This story is not merely ancient history, it is alive, breathing into our hearts the truth that we are made for relationship, with God, with each other, and with the world entrusted to our care. In the echoes of Eden's garden, we find an invitation to step into the fullness of life as intended by our Creator. We are reminded that our identity is rooted in something far greater than ourselves, that we are called to lead with humility, serve with compassion, and steward with wisdom. Even when faced with the shadows of human failure and brokenness, the promise of redemption shines brightly, urging us to live with courage and faith. The lessons embedded in the creation narrative offer us a compass to navigate the complexities of our modern world, encouraging us to seek light in the darkness, to find rest in the sacred rhythms, and to embrace the divine image within. This journey through Genesis challenges us to embrace the responsibility that comes with being part of God's ongoing creation story. It beckons us to consider how we can embody the leadership, stewardship, and love that reflect the heart of the Creator. Each of us carries a piece of this ancient story within, a call to be caretakers of the earth, nurturers of community, and bearers of hope. As we live out this calling, we contribute to a legacy that transcends generations, shaping a world that honors the sacred design set forth in the beginning. If this exploration of the creation story has touched your heart, inspired your spirit, or sparked a new understanding, I invite you to join this journey further. By liking this video, you support the sharing of these timeless truths, helping to bring light and hope to more people around the world. Subscribing ensures you won't miss the next chapter of our exploration into the profound stories that shape our faith and identity. Together we can walk deeper into the wisdom of the Bible, uncovering the beauty and meaning that speak directly to our lives today. Let us carry forward the lessons of Genesis, not as distant tales, but as living truths that guide our actions, shape our values, and inspire our dreams. In embracing this story, we find connection, purpose, and an enduring hope that sustains us through every season. The creation story is a testament to a God who not only brought the universe into being, but continues to invite us into his ongoing work of restoration and love. May we respond with hearts open to his guidance, hands ready to serve, and lives that reflect the divine image in all we do. Thank you for sharing this moment of reflection. Your presence here is part of a greater story, one of light overcoming darkness and hope prevailing over despair. Keep this story alive by sharing it with others, by living it boldly, and by remembering always the sacred origins that bind us together. Like, subscribe, and be part of a community seeking truth, purpose, and the everlasting grace that flows from the Creator of all.